In the tense glow of studio lights, the show opened with a surging hush as Andy Cohen welcomed his audience and invited Mariah Carey to take her seat. The atmosphere crackled with anticipation. This episode had already been hyped by promoters and tabloid teasers alike. Mariah, poised in an elegant yet guarded posture, offered a polite smile as Andy leaned forward. He launched into the interview, initially speaking in measured tones about her career, her music, and the upcoming projects. But underneath the surface, the slow currents of tension shifted. Andy's tone edged toward pressure, his brows knitting ever so slightly, as if each word he asked Mariah to respond to was a calculated weapon. The audience sat enthralled, unaware that the calm on the surface would soon fracture into confrontation. Andy probed gently at first, asking about Mariah's recent statements in tabloids and interviews, questions about her relationship with her label, her absence from social media, and rumors of tensions with other industry figures. Mariah's responses, cool but clipped, reflected a woman balancing decorum and defensiveness. She deflected some lines, answered others, and redirected tangents with the elegance she is known for. But with each follow-up, Andy's questions sharpened. What had begun as friendly curiosity morphed into pointed interrogation. The tension slowly coiled like a serpent. Mariah's posture stiffened, her eyes flicked with controlled irritation, and her tone, though still graceful, carried undertones of impatience. The clash began when Andy asked about a controversial remark Mariah made in a past interview, something she later claimed was taken out of context. He pressed her, "Do you still stand by those words?" Mariah paused, visibly gathering composure. She replied that her words had been mischaracterized, insisted she regretted the misinterpretation, and that she had never meant offense. Andy, however, persisted, citing media quotes and social media reactions. The back and forth crackled. Mariah's voice remained steady but sharp. Andy's face held determination. The live audience leaned in. It was not uncomfortable embarrassment but a showdown of wills, two strong personalities colliding under the glare of cameras. Andy then pivoted to Mariah's private life via rumors about romantic relationships, public spats, and her absence from public view. The change of topic surprised her. Mariah blinked, composed herself, then responded that she distinguished between public work and private life, and that rumors were often exaggerations. Andy probed further, "But is it true that someone close to you publicly contradicted your statement?" Mariah's jaw tightened. She answered tersely, defending her privacy and expressing disappointment at rumor-mongering. The tension escalated. Andy pressed, saying the audience deserved clarity, while Mariah insisted boundaries exist between truths and gossip. A crucial moment occurred when Andy mentioned a leaked recording in which Mariah allegedly made harsh remarks about another celebrity. He asked her to comment. Mariah's expression hardened. She inhaled, measured her words, and then responded that leaks and edited clips are unreliable, and she would not dignify misquotations. Andy countered, "If you won't address it, fans will fill in the blanks themselves." Mariah's eyes flickered anger. She said that sometimes silence is the more dignified choice. The studio fell quiet as Andy nodded and smiled, but his eyes searched hers. The clash had entered a boundary zone, public accountability versus personal dignity. The audience murmured when Andy brought up Mariah's health and fitness routines, referencing a social media post claiming she had cancelled events due to exhaustion. He asked whether she was overextending herself. Mariah paused, then, with cautious softness, said that touring demands are intense, that self-care is essential, and that not every cancellation is scandal. Andy gently pushed, asking if she might have misjudged scheduling or neglected rest. Mariah's tone sharpened. She insisted she plans carefully and takes rest seriously, but that life's unexpected turns intervene. The conversation danced on thin ice. Andy's persistence and Mariah's guarded deflection coexisted uneasily. The friction peaked when Andy asked about a recent public comment by Mariah's team denying a concert's cancellation was due to poor ticket sales. He challenged her, "So it wasn't very high demand?" Mariah's lips pressed. She countered that ticket sales are complex, regionally variable, and tied to multiple factors beyond fan interest. Andy pressed, "Are you saying some markets underperformed?" Mariah, now visibly bristling, responded that speculation oversimplifies reality. The audience tensed. Andy, undeterred, suggested transparency would quell rumor mills. Mariah sighed, bristled at the demand, and reminded him that some details are best left confidential. Midway in the interview, the energy shifted. Mariah's voice, previously polished, acquired sharper inflections. Andy's tone, though practiced, grew insistent. The layers peeled back. Agenda, control, power dynamics. Andy asked about the dynamic between Mariah and her management. Did she ever feel unheard? Mariah said yes. At times she explained that creative control is a battle, that compromise is inevitable, but that she learned to assert her voice. Andy pursued, "Do you regret any decision your team made?" Mariah hesitated, then said she regrets few things involved in art, though execution sometimes faltered. The subtle tension tightened. Andy's next question invoked a recent industry feud. A third-party rumors suggested Mariah had publicly sidelined an emerging artist. He inquired whether she had intentionally undermined someone. Mariah bristled, denying the claim firmly. She said she supports creative voices, that she never strategizes to sabotage others. Andy leaned forward, voice calm but pointed. "Some say your silence speaks louder than your words." Mariah's expression flickered. She replied that silence is often misinterpreted, that she avoids fueling gossip. Andy nodded, softly acknowledging her posture as defensible, but the chasm of disquiet remained. Andy then asked a question about Mariah's long public history with reality TV. He asked whether she'd ever regretted some appearances or statements made on camera. Mariah softened slightly, reflecting that earlier years in her career she allowed less guard, less self-awareness. She admitted that in hindsight, some interviews lacked poise. Andy followed. "Do you feel better now in controlling the narrative?" Mariah replied that tools like social media give artists control, but also open new vulnerabilities. She gestured subtly, as though shielding delicate balance. The tension was now tempered by reflection, but the earlier clash cast its shadows. In a moment of pause, Andy asked Mariah about her fans. "How do you navigate the love and criticism?" Mariah's tone turned warm but cautious. She said her fans are a source of strength, that she honors them. But she noted that public figures accept scrutiny, and sometimes criticism arrives whether deserved or not. Andy reflected aloud that celebrities often walk a tightrope. Mariah nodded, agreeing that artists must balance authenticity and strategy. Yet she hinted that sometimes she feels misjudged, misunderstood, and unfairly judged by outsiders who don't see the whole picture. Andy closed toward the end by revisiting the earlier heated topics, so he wanted her to respond cleanly to the more controversial moments. Mariah, visibly fatigued but still composed, took a moment. She addressed the misquoted remarks, reiterated that many criticisms derive from fragmented tapes, and reaffirmed boundaries between public statements and private life. Andy nodded, acknowledging her stance. But he also asked, "Will you ever open up more?" Mariah paused, then said with quiet firmness that she chooses when and how to open, that some doors are private, some for public light, and that she will continue to protect what matters. The interview ended with Andy thanking Mariah for her candor and admitting the conversation had ventured into difficult terrain. Mariah offered a carefully soft smile and responded politely, thanking him for having her. The studio applause was polite, tentative. The closing few moments carried weight. The collision was not one of defeat but of negotiation. Even as the lights dimmed, the echoes of words lingered. The audience, caught between admiration and curiosity, processed what had just played out, a star confronting pressure, a host probing boundaries. As the credits rolled, behind the camera whispers swirled of the producers' faces unreadable, Mariah's camp standing by her words, Andy glancing at monitors. The conversation would ignite headlines. Tabloids would dissect each exchange. Social media would replay words frame by frame. Fans and critics alike would pick sides. Yet beneath it all remained a deeper tension, the dance between celebrity autonomy and public exposure. Mariah's composure, tested yet unbroken, served as testament to both vulnerability and resilience. The clash was real, not staged, and it opened a window into what happens when persona meets scrutiny. In the aftermath, as the clip circulates online, commentators will debate who gained ground, who lost footing. Mariah's decision to push back against certain lines will be praised as strength by some and chalked up as defensiveness by others. Andy's insistence will be framed as journalistic boldness or overreach. The full story lives not just in what was said, but in what remained unspoken. And in that liminal space, the tension lingers between control and exposure, between silence and confrontation. The spotlight dims for now, but the echo of that heated clash will ripple far beyond a single episode. The morning after the show aired, entertainment headlines exploded. Mariah vs. Andy, the clash everyone's talking about. Read one banner. Clips flooded social media feeds. The heated exchanges were looped endlessly with dramatic captions and emojis. Fans defended Mariah passionately, calling out Andy for disrespect and provocation, while others praised his persistence for asking what others wouldn't. Mariah's representatives issued a brief statement urging fans to focus on her upcoming projects rather than online speculation. Meanwhile, Andy's team released a short teaser clip promoting the Unfiltered Truth segment, knowing controversy meant ratings. The clash had transcended television. It was now a digital spectacle. On Twitter, #TeamRiot trended within hours, while Andy's name also climbed the list with divided commentary. One viral post read, "Mariah handled herself with class while being cornered." Another countered, "Andy just did his job as she overreacted." Fans dissected micro-expressions, tone shifts, Pauses. Some claimed Mariah's eye roll at minute 7 spoke volumes. Others insisted Andy's smirk was condescending. The discourse spiraled into endless interpretations, and within a day, YouTube channels had uploaded frame-by-frame analyzers. The show had become not just an interview but a modern case study in media perception, celebrity control, and the performance of confrontation. Behind the scenes, producers debated whether the clash went too far. Some argued the tension had revitalized interest in the program, while others feared it crossed ethical lines. Andy, reviewing footage in his office, maintained that he was fair. "She's strong enough to handle tough questions," he told staff, but he privately admitted that her icy silence near the end unsettled him. Mariah's camp, meanwhile, held their own meeting, discussing damage control. She reportedly told her manager she wouldn't apologize for setting boundaries. "I answered what mattered," she said firmly. "If people want scandal, they can find it somewhere else." Entertainment pundits joined the fray, analyzing the cultural implications. Some wrote think pieces about gender double standards in interviews, noting that women defending themselves are labeled angry while men are praised for confidence. Others focused on power dynamics, arguing that Andy, as host, had cornered Mariah into reactive mode. A veteran journalist commented, "That wasn't an interview, it was a chess match." Mariah played defensively, Andy offensively, and both lost pieces. The conversation extended beyond gossip. It became about respect, autonomy, and how far a talk show should go to extract truth from celebrity guests. Meanwhile, Mariah herself remained silent publicly for 3 days. Her social media accounts posted only promotional material for her latest single, but observant fans noticed subtle signals, a caption reading "Stay graceful under pressure," a photo of her in studio headphones, eyes closed. Her silence spoke louder than statements. Critics speculated whether she planned to address the matter directly. Rumors circulated that she had declined invitations from several late-night shows to avoid further questioning. Yet those close to her insisted she was focused on music, not media drama, choosing dignity over debate. Andy appeared on his radio show the following week, where listeners immediately called in about the Mariah incident. He chuckled lightly, downplaying the controversy. "Mariah's a legend," he said. "Sometimes interviews get heated, but it's all love." Still, he couldn't resist clarifying that he hadn't asked anything unreasonable. "Fans forget it's my job to ask tough questions," he added. The comment reignited discussions online, with some accusing him of arrogance and others praising his professionalism. Andy smiled through it all, aware that every headline, even critical honors, kept his show relevant. As journalists continued debating, Mariah finally spoke up during a backstage mini-interview before a charity event. When asked if she regretted the Cohen appearance, she paused, smiled softly, and said, "Regret? Number. Lessons? Always." Her words were clipped yet graceful. She added, "I've been in this industry long enough to know how energy works. You can't control what people say, but you can control how you respond." That quote spread instantly. The internet declared it a masterclass in composure. Within hours, her statement shifted the narrative, reframing her as the calm professional in a sea of noise. Weeks later, producers noticed a spike in ratings for Mariah's older interviews and documentaries. Curiosity about her personality reignited, leading to renewed interest in her catalog and upcoming projects. Ironically, what began as negative publicity turned into fresh visibility. Streaming platforms reported a boost in her song search as fans posted compilations of her most confident clapbacks and poised comebacks through the years. Mariah, as she has often done, transformed friction into fascination. The clash that seemed explosive at first now looked like another chapter in her long, complex relationship with the media spotlight. Andy, meanwhile, faced new questions from future guests. Some wondered if they too would be cornered by difficult questions. His producers reassured them that interviews remained collaborative, not confrontational. Yet privately, Andy reflected on the balance between curiosity and intrusion. He admitted to colleagues that Mariah's composure forced him to reassess his tactics. "She didn't yell," he said. "She just didn't play the game." It was both critique and respect. That realization lingered with him. How silence, used strategically, could disarm more than any outburst. In a podcast conversation weeks later, Mariah was asked again, this time gently, about the nature of fame and scrutiny. She sighed, then spoke with disarming honesty. "It's funny," she said. "People think being famous means losing control. But control is what keeps me grounded. I protect my peace." The interviewer noted how she managed to remain calm under provocation. Mariah laughed lightly. "I've learned that energy is currency," she said. "Spend it wisely." Her response became another viral memento, calm wisdom replacing the earlier anger narrative. Redemption, in her own words, came quietly. Over time, the initial tension softened into a cultural anecdote. Memes turned humorous rather than hostile, and fans celebrated Mariah's poise. Andy even referenced the episode jokingly on the later broadcast, calling it our most talked about moment of the season. The audience laughed. The sting had faded. Both parties benefited, the host from heightened ratings, Mariah from renewed public intrigue. Yet for those who studied the exchange closely, the deeper meaning remained. It wasn't simply about anger but about boundaries, about the invisible lines between truth and entertainment. Months later, a magazine feature profiled Mariah's career resilience. The writer described the Cohen interview as a pivotal test of self-command, noting that her refusal to feed conflict illustrated maturity. Mariah herself was quoted saying, "I've lived long enough in the public eye to know that storms pass but character stays." The article praised her evolution from diva caricature to grounded icon. Fans saw it as vindication. The once heated clash had, paradoxically, strengthened her image, a transformation few public controversies managed to achieve. Andy, reflecting months afterward in a retrospective interview, admitted the Mariah episode taught him restraint. "There's a fine line between journalism and provocation," he said. "She reminded me that not every silence is evasion, or sometimes it's wisdom." His tone was self-aware, even humble. Listeners praised the acknowledgement as overdue maturity. The network, noting positive reactions, continued inviting A-list stars, promising respectful candor. In an industry built on spectacle, that small evolution mattered, to a sign that even controversy can breed reflection. As for Mariah, her next major public appearance, a televised holiday concert, became a triumph. She performed with renewed energy, joked with the crowd, and subtly referenced the Cohen clash by teasing, "Let's keep this festive, no tough questions tonight." The audience roared with laughter. The moment signified closure, a reclamation of tone and control. Critics called it a classy mic drop. By transforming confrontation into comedy, she demonstrated that owning the narrative isn't about erasing conflict but reframing it on one's own terms. By year's end, retrospectives of celebrity media moments included the Carey Cohen episode alongside other iconic interviews. Analysts pointed to it as an example of shifting celebrity journalist power dynamics in the social media age, where once interviewers shaped perception, now stars could reshape stories instantly through personal platforms. Mariah's silence, followed by calculated clarity, became a model of modern PR agility. Andy's questioning style, while still bold, evolved toward more empathetic pacing. The cultural ripple was subtle but lasting. For viewers, the memory of that heated exchange remains vivid. It captured something raw, authenticity under pressure. Mariah's frustration wasn't performative. Andy's insistence wasn't purely antagonistic. It was a meeting of strong wills under unrelenting light. That's why audiences rewatch it. It feels real in a world of rehearsed sound bites. The tension, the composure, the sharp exchange all revealed the human beneath the glamour. In hindsight, both emerged not as rivals but reflections of an industry built on the delicate balance of curiosity and control. Fans often revisit the episode as part of media study compilations online. In comment sections, debates persist. Was Mariah justified in pushing back? Was Andy crossing professional lines? The enduring discussion speaks to its depth beyond tabloid buzz. It represents something fundamental about modern celebrity culture, the negotiation of power between image and authenticity. People saw in that moment their own struggles with misunderstanding, their own desire to be respected when boundaries are tested. That's why the story continues to resonate. In interviews years later, when asked about the Cohen moment, Mariah smiles knowingly and says, "That's old history but a good reminder." She treats it now as part of her legend, neither denying nor glorifying it. Andy, for his part, often describes it as a wild but valuable episode. Both have moved on professionally, yet the cultural memory remains embedded. What once looked like conflict now reads as evolution, a shared lesson in communication under scrutiny. Ultimately, the confrontation between Mariah Carey and Andy Cohen became more than a TV incident. It became a study in poise, perception, and media dynamics. It showed how quickly narratives shift and how composure can outlast chaos. Both figures walked away changed, Mariah more self-assured in her boundaries, Andy more measured in his provocations. And the world watching learned that entertainment's sharp edges often reveal deeper truths about respect, agency, and the art of saying enough. The story ends not with bitterness but with balance. The clip still circulates, the debate still re-emerges, yet its legacy has matured. For Mariah, it reaffirmed her command over her voice. For Andy, it reminded him that curiosity must coexist with compassion. The clash that once seemed explosive now reads as dialogue, an imperfect but meaningful exchange that mirrors the complexity of fame itself. And as the lights dim on that unforgettable night, one truth remains clear: sometimes the strongest statement isn't the loudest, it's the calm that follows the storm.